What is going on, YouTube people? Today, we're going to talk about Spider-Man No Way Home. Something a little different on the channel, but saw it last night. Just wanted to talk about it. It was so freaking good. So, spoiler warning. Putting it out there now. I will be talking about everything that happened in Spider-Man No Way Home. And let's include Hawkeye up through episode 5 because it is relevant for this conversation as well. So, do not proceed further if you do not want to get spoiled about what happens in Spider-Man No Way Home, with a brief touch on recent events in Hawkeye. With all that being said, like, comment, subscribe. Let's go ahead and dive in and have a little chit-chat today, shall we? So, wife and I went and saw Spider-Man No Way Home yesterday. Absolutely fantastic. One of the best Marvel movies I've ever seen. I would put it behind Infinity War. Definitely in the top 5, maybe top 3, but I'd have to really sit down and think about it. They really pulled this movie off for as many moving parts as it had and as much shenanigans as they needed to get done. I really think that they nailed it. I'm not going to go through the movie scene by scene or anything crazy like that. This will just be like a high-level talking points on it, but the fact, and once again, spoilers, that all 3 Spider-Men were in this movie and it worked was fantastic. And how much we got Andrew Garfield and Toby Maguire. I was not expecting them to be in the movie this much. I was expecting them to be in the movie. I'd stayed spoiler-free going in, but there was enough rumors circulating out there that, I was pretty sure they were going to show up. I just assumed they were just kind of pop in during the last fight, be involved for 5 or 10 minutes, 15 minutes maybe, do a little thing, have a scene, have a little moment, have a little laugh, and then, they're zipped back to their own multiverse. But no, they're in this movie for an hour, 45 minutes to an hour. The whole back third of this movie is all 3 of them, and it's absolutely fantastic. The way that they managed to close up the individual storylines of those Sony characters, for the Andrew Garfield closure on the Gwen Stacy death, and the Toby Maguire kind of talking about how his life has proceeded post what we've seen in the movies, that he's still with MJ, that he's kind of an older Spider-Man, I thought was really cool. Them mentoring Tom Holland's Peter Parker with the death of Aunt May, I thought was really cool. I thought all the jokes were really good. All the, I don't want to say memes, but fan service stuff, I thought was done perfectly. And just absolutely amazingly well done. I loved, and this is where we're going to get into Hawkeye stuff. So Hawkeye spoilers, that we got Matt Murdock out of the blue. There was rumors of that happening too, so I wasn't shocked, but it was so awesome to see Charlie Cox playing Matt Murdock again. He was absolutely amazing as Daredevil. We did not get any Kingpin anything in this movie, but with Daredevil coming back, now we have Kingpin back, and you could start to see the roadmap for the short and long term of the MCU a little bit, especially the short term. What else did I really like about this movie? The villains were really well done. I thought William Dafoe absolutely crushed it as Green Goblin. I think this was his best portrayal of Green Goblin. He was absolutely maniacal. Probably one of the better villain performances I've seen in a Marvel movie. All the Doctor Strange stuff was really cool. The spells, him, disappearing for a while, Ned using the sling ring, all the magical stuff was really cool with those guys. The ending was really good. When he goes into the coffee shop and sees them and doesn't say anything to them, I thought was absolutely fantastic. Just an absolutely amazing movie. I'm so happy that they pulled this off. I'm really glad to see that the box office numbers are going absolutely insane for it. That's not surprising, but with COVID nonsense still floating around, there was a little concern there that maybe it would underperform, but that does not seem to be the case. I cannot wait for this movie to get on Disney Plus. I would like to watch it 2 or 3 more times back to back, to be quite honest, because I'm sure there's tons of stuff that I missed. Post-credit scenes, the middle one, I had audibly gasped out loud when Eddie Brock leaves a little piece of the symbiote suit behind when he teleports away, or when he gets zoomed back to his own multiverse and there's just a little black blob floating around there. We'll get back into that in a second. And then, you know, the second post trailer scene basically just being the trailer for Multiverse of Madness. And that movie looks wild. Absolutely wild. Big fan of Scarlet Witch. Looks like we're going to get the Supreme Sorcerer or whatever version of Doctor Strange from What If. It appears looked like had a brief cameo appearance in that trailer. Baron Mordo's coming back. Movie looks great. American Chavez, got to see her for the first time in just a couple quick little shots. I really would like to re-see that trailer again. Like, I hope that gets pushed out online here very shortly. I'm sure I could go watch some blurry cell phone version of it. But I would like to watch that trailer a couple more times because there was so much going on in that trailer. I feel like I missed stuff. So I would definitely like to double check that trailer out if it gets posted online. I'm sure it will. I'm sure they'll come out with like an official trailer after a few days, probably sometime next week, since that's out in the wild now. But yeah, overall, absolutely fantastic movie. Really love the direction that they took it. And, you know, let's spin this forward a little bit. They have basically reset Spider-Man. You know, the movie ends with no one knowing who Peter Parker is. Aunt May is dead. You know, he has no ties to anyone anymore. You know, Ned and MJ don't know who he is. Happy doesn't know who he is. And he has the old school, classic, grungy, dirty, cheap New York apartment. And he's broke and, you know, getting ready to go to college. It's kind of like the classic Spider-Man that we all, you know, all kind of grew up on in the comic books. Like, it is now 100% comic accurate Spider-Man, for lack of a better term. You know, he doesn't have the Tony Stark support system. He doesn't have the Avengers. He doesn't have someone looking out for him anymore. He's on his own and just kind of figure this stuff out. And I think that's really cool because, like I said, it gets back to the roots of what the character always was. So, you know, does he get a job at the Daily Bugle, you know, as a photographer again, you know, putting his way through college? Who's he going to run into? Rumors are that he's signed back up for 3 more movies. So we'll see where they go for there. With the post-credit scene, we absolutely get the ability to have a full symbiote series, like a Venom done properly. You know, like we got Venom in the Sonyverse and it was fine, you know, that was fine, but it wasn't what I think a lot of people wanted because, you know, Venom shouldn't come before Spider-Man. You know what I mean? Like, Eddie Brock should not get the symbiote before Peter Parker has it. And they kind of skipped a step there and it felt weird. So now we could come along and do this properly. You know, he leaves a little chunk of it behind. I assume the next movie back will just be, you know, some sort of random Spider-Man adventure and probably that post-credit scene to that. Or maybe the very end of that movie is him getting the black suit or the symbiote showing up and he gets it in movie number 2. And then, you know, that'll be, you know, kind of like the dark version of that. Maybe he has the suit for that movie and then Eddie Brock gets it sometime during that movie. And who's to say people were like, oh man, you know, that version of Venom was really cool. Who's to say they don't use the same actor? You know, who's to say they don't use Tom Hardy again? It's the multiverse. It's just this version of Eddie Brock. There's nothing stopping them from doing that. You know, maybe he's a little bit different personality wise, but there's no reason that it still couldn't be Tom Hardy as Venom or / Eddie Brock. And we'll see where they go. The interesting part to me is, you know, they successfully brought back Andrew Garfield and Toby Maguire, and I think really did great things with their story. Is there a possibility of Sony running out another Andrew Garfield Spider-Man movie and setting it purely in the Sonyverse, like away from all the Marvel stuff? Because this is established now that these guys have their own universes that they fight in and do their thing in. So why couldn't? Who's to say that the Venom and Carnage universe isn't in the same world as Andrew Garfield? So what's to stop Sony from producing an Andrew Garfield Spider-Man movie, the Spectacular Spider-Man or whatever, alongside, you know, at the same time, a Tom Holland Spider-Man crossed with the MCU? And now with the forget spell where no one knows who Peter Parker is anymore, it really opens that up, that they're not, you know, Tom Holland's Peter Parker is in the MCU, but he's not really in the MCU, if that makes sense, because no one knows who he is anymore. So he's not tied to any of the baggage, the MCU baggage. So if Sony wanted to use him a little bit more liberally, they could without having to bring in a bunch of MCU characters. Now, do I think they should do that? No. Sony and Marvel should figure it out. continue to work together with Tom Holland's Spider-Man and making these things work. Plus, it opens them up to bring more different people in. You know, Spider-Man's going to be in New York. We have Fantastic Four coming. Those two teams can cross up, or Spider-Man can cross up with the Fantastic Four, which happen in the comic books all the time. We'll see. Possibility is endless. The other thing that my mind is going absolutely wild on is all the comic books that I want to buy coming out of this movie. I was like, I want to own all the Spider-Man comic books. And X-Men is my number one. It always has been. But I walk out of there just thinking like, man, boy, do I want some Spider-Man stuff. There's a couple classic Green Goblin covers that I really would like to have. I still want the ASM 50 with the first appearance of Kingpin. Kind of even more so now, and Kingpin wasn't even in this movie, but with Daredevil coming, and we're probably going to get a bunch of Daredevil in the Echo show that's going to be following up after Hawkeye at some point in time. I don't know if there's a firm release date for that yet or not, but Echo, I have a feeling Daredevil, now that's 100% confirmed that Charlie Cox is back, is going to play a prominent role in that Echo show. I'm going to assume it's her trying to figure out what happened to her dad, finding out that it's Kingpin and maybe going after him, and at some point in time running into Daredevil and Charlie Cox. So, and maybe he takes her under her wing, because in the comic book, I believe there are a couple, if my memory is correct. I wasn't not a big Daredevil guy from a comic book perspective, but I really enjoyed the Netflix show. And then Vincent D'Onofrio's Kingpin is just amazing. One of the best movie villains, or TV Marvel villains ever, in my opinion. Probably top 3 Marvel villain, maybe top 5. I don't know. He's really good. Vincent D'Onofrio's Kingpin is absolutely amazing as a Marvel villain. So yeah, those are my quick take thoughts. I probably could have talked forever on this, but I kind of wanted to keep this short and sweet. This is a little offbeat from what we normally do here, but I was just so excited coming out of that movie that I just kind of wanted to talk about it. So curious for your thoughts and opinions down below if you've seen it, both from, just how you enjoyed it, what, from a comic book collecting / investing standpoint, what are you chasing or what are you FOMOing for? The FOMO is real right now on the comic book side for me. I mean, like, all I can think about is Spider-Man comic books right now. I'm just very glad that I already have my ASM 252 and Secret Wars number 8, because I have a feeling those books are going to start getting run with that little piece of symbiote staying behind. I've been saying forever, if Tom Holland ever gets a black suit on him, get a little symbiote on him, those books are going to explode, especially 252, because that's a little bit of a lower census count book compared to Secret Wars 8. I don't think it would take much to move that, and 252 is already very respected on the secondary market prior to all this nonsense. So yeah, curious for your thoughts down below. Like, comment, subscribe. Catch you guys and girls on the next one. Peace.